One day in 2019, inside the cabin of Nanhai One, archaeologists discovered an intact lacquered box.
What's this, the black thing?
Should be gold leaves.
A gold chain?
A chain.
Gold artifacts are not uncommon on Nanhai One, but the over 10 gold necklaces of similar form in this lacquered box inevitably raised a question. Were they goods, custom made specifically for export?
$74.9 grams. 75.1 grams. 74.5 grams.
Goldsmithing is common around the world. Over 8 centuries ago, why were these exotic gold chains produced in China? Whatever the reason, these gold chains, along with lots of other goods, were loaded onto Nanhai One. The salvage of the shipwreck stunned people with the discovery that a single Song Dynasty sea vessel carried 180,000 pieces of China-made goods. Quantities on such a scale have never been found in historical documents. But at that time, hundreds of such merchant ships would set sail every year as winds rose in the South China Sea. What kind of shipbuilding technology enabled such massive cargo loads to travel across vast oceans? How were all these goods even produced? What influence did these products have on the markets along the Maritime Silk Road? And what differences did these products make to the lives of their buyers? In August 2023, the excavation of Nanhai One was fully completed. All cargo was removed from the ship. The silt in and around the wreck was also fully screened using sieves through the flotation method for minute artifact remains. Right now, the appearance of this ship was finally fully revealed. Archaeologist Lin Tung-o was also about to complete his task of surveying and recording.
On the site, I drew many line drawings and quick sketches, etc. I drew 1,000 pieces or so, maybe more. Need to carefully handle dimensions and proportions.
These drawings recorded every step along the excavation and made this shipwreck's form increasingly clear. It is a Fu ship, mainly produced in the coastal Fujian region. From no later than the Songyuan period, this kind of ship was one of the major carriers in ancient China's maritime trade.
I'm drawing schematic drawings of ancient ship types. This is a Sha ship, suitable for river navigation. Fu ship and Guang ship. These two types can go out to sea. The Guang ship has a relatively slender form. It doesn't carry as much, but is relatively fast. The Fu ship is wider and stockier, with a deeper draft. It's known for its large cargo capacity.
The Maritime Silk Road during the Songyuan period stretched for 15,000 kilometers. sea conditions along the route varied greatly. Towering waves posed deadly threats. What kind of technology supported these Chinese ships traveling this route to and fro?
Tough work. And it's so hot today. Let me help.
It's okay, thanks.
Submerged in wood culture for nearly 30 years, Chen Huaping is curious about the timber used on Nanhai One. He wants to know how the shipwrights of the past would use timber to build ocean-going vessels.
That house up there is my ancestral home. My forefathers lived here. These big trees used to be everywhere. In the 1980s, when I was young, some trees with diameters over 1.5 meters were felled in our village. They were taken to Chuanzhou to build ships.
Having grown up here, Chen knows that on the hills here, those big trees suitable for shipbuilding possess certain unique qualities.
Careful. Here, this one. This one, a Masan pine. So this is a Masan pine. The whole log, you see, is tall and straight. Masan pine was the most important material in ancient shipbuilding, particularly suitable for the ship's keel.
8 centuries ago, these very trees became timber for different parts of a ship.
In shipbuilding, the most pressure-critical parts, especially the bottom and the keel, all use pine to handle the highest pressure. The rudder step, based on my initial examination, is made of camphor or Fujian cypress.
Pine is strong and tough. Camphor is rot-resistant. China fir is light and resilient. It is found that Nanhai One used different types of wood for all those different parts of the ship. Each played its proper role on the ship, showing ancient Chinese shipwrights' deep understanding of timber properties and precision in meeting the needs of different ship parts. However, Nanhai One was not simply a pile of timber. In the still existing stern section, Chen also caught a glimpse of the secrets of past shipbuilding.
Here we see 4 layers of planking. The top piece here is pine. These 2 layers are China fir. The 2 layers below, including this overlap, are pine. So we can see quite a diverse use of timber.
The same structure also appears on the Chuanzhou Hozhu shipwreck. It is also a Song Dynasty shipwreck, discovered in the 1970s on the beach of Chuanzhou Hozhu port. Unlike the relatively intact Nanhai One, only the lower structure of this ship is preserved. On its remaining hull, Chen found that the hull shell was made of 3 to 4 layers of different planks. What was the purpose of this arrangement?
Now let's do a test. How many turns will it take to break this single plank? Okay, let's get ready. 1. Yeah, next 2. It's the second turn now. Be careful. 2. 3. 3. It broke in 3 turns. It can handle 3 turns. Now let's try 3 layers of stacked thinner planks. These 3 together are almost as thick as that single plank. This time, let's see how many turns it will take to break the 3 layers of stacked thinner planks. Okay.
Chen Huaping selects the same timbers as those on Nanhai One. He wants to use this to reveal the secret of the Fu ship's hull structure.
1. 2. Second turn here. 2. Now 3. 4. Careful, might snap. For turns. 5. Almost 7. 7. Okay, 9. 9. First layer cracked. Come on. 10. Be careful, might snap. 10. Careful, 11. It snapped. Okay, release it first. So in total, we made 11 full turns. We can see that all 3 layers of the planks have cracked. Not completely broken off though.
With the same thickness, the Song Dynasty ship hull's structure can bear external force far better than a single layer of plank.
Since ancient times, we Chinese people have had an innate good sense and grasp of wood. An understanding of the nature of different woods comes from experience, from a perception of nature. Perhaps this is a gift, a kind of wisdom from our traditions. This also testifies to China's greatness in maritime technology 1,000 years ago.
Ancestors of Pengcheng. We are building a Fu ship. May everything proceed smoothly.
At the bay of Zhangwan Town, Jiaoqing District, Ningda, the Liu family is praying to their ancestors for the coming shipbuilding.
Carving wood to make boats, starting a cause that knows no bounds. Building a bridge of boats. Our ancestors migrated here from Chuanzhou during the Hongwu reign of the Ming Dynasty. Been 6 centuries. This has been our livelihood.
The Liu family genealogy records a fascinating history. In the Song Dynasty, their ancestors made their living by building ships. They migrated to this bay during the Ming Dynasty. Today, the Liu family is one of the few in Fujian province still using traditional techniques to build full-sized Fu ships.
Slowly. Just need a bit of planing.
Inside the shipyard, a 20-meter-long wooden ship stands majestically. It was built entirely with ancient plans and techniques. Its structure and form are those of a standard Fu ship, very similar to Nanhai One.
These parts are the ship's sides.
They are here. This is the planking. This ship is still very sturdy. Why? The bulkheads are dense and strong.
From this angle, it looks a bit uneven.
Right.
So I think this might be the deck.
This must be a bulkhead.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've never seen such things before. Never.
In 2014, when the full excavation of Nanhai One began, Professor Shi Longfei came to the site. When this 800-year-old ship appeared before him, this leading authority on Chinese shipbuilding history, who had helped rebuild Zhenghe's treasure ships, was so excited.
What does a Song Dynasty ship look like? Only the Hozhu shipwreck gave us a very rough idea. couldn't go further. It was just the bottom, a shallow pan. We had no intact sea ships unearthed.
What surprised Professor Shi most was the intact watertight bulkheads preserved on Nanhai One.
Ships, whether ancient or modern, all need the most advanced technology. Foreign ships, they sewed them with palm rope. Was that watertight? China's watertight caulking. Used tung oil and lime. Excellent watertightness, very safe. So Chinese ships, with advanced Chinese technology and techniques, were leading the world at the time.
This lesson is about the characteristics of watertight bulkheads on cruise ships. When the compartment leaks and water gets in, will this boat sink? Pulling it out.
In an off-campus activity of Ningda Central Primary School, the national-level inheritor of watertight bulkhead technology, Liu Shishio, is doing an important experiment. Using this 8-meter cruise ship model, he is about to show the core technique of ancient Chinese shipbuilding.
Come on, try it out. See, water is bubbling up. Why isn't the boat sinking with the leaking? When water comes in, it doesn't go to the front or rear compartments. So there's still void space, front and back, and it won't sink. It can still maintain buoyancy.
This is the 3D model of Nanhai One, made public for the first time. The 14 well-preserved compartments on it are watertight bulkheads. If the ship is damaged, even if half the compartments are flooded, the ship can still survive on the buoyancy provided by other compartments. In the 18th century, Western countries gradually began to adopt this shipbuilding technique, contributing to the development of modern maritime civilization. It has become the basic structure of modern ships.
We have oyster shells, tung oil, bamboo fiber, and hemp fiber for kinds. This combination serves to create watertightness. There is a specific ratio.
Watertight bulkheads are not just about creating partitions. What is more important is the positioning of bulkheads to the hull, and the watertight materials caulked between planks. The materials must withstand long-term seawater immersion and corrosion, and maintain adhesion and elasticity, so the planks can endure wave impact and hull deformation, and maintain long-term sealability.
The watertight bulkheads are the same as the Song dynasties. This is an independent compartment. Water won't come in from the side, from the back, or from the bottom. Every single seam must be caulked. Once it's caulked tight, water won't seep through.
Bulkhead positions to the hull, and the formula for watertight materials have not changed since the Song dynasty. They have been passed down orally among family inheritors as a family secret, not to be disclosed on camera. It was ships like these that faced complex sea conditions and huge waves on the maritime Silk Road routes during the Southern Song period. So why did Nanhai One end up sinking more than 800 years ago? Built with such advanced technology? After studying the hull structure of the ship, Leo came up with the following conjecture.
Based on our speculation, perhaps the height of the ship was raised. There was also cargo. Its center of gravity likely shifted upward. By our shipbuilding standards, it shouldn't be too tall. If the center of gravity goes up, the ship might be unstable and sink.
In the Maritime Silk Road Museum of Guangdong, archaeologists are separating and weighing the concretion from the upper layers of the shipwreck. The main component of the concretion is ironware weighing over 100 tons. Most of it was loaded in the upper levels of Nanhai One, which moved up the ship's center of gravity. These iron objects include iron walks, mostly round walks and those with handles. The Southern Song ships would trade along the route. Historical records show iron walks had markets in many countries along the route. Other iron objects include thousands of iron bars, each about 20 to 30 centimeters long, mostly bound with bamboo strips, pleasantly laid out. Such iron bars are not recorded in historical documents. A recovery of such a large quantity is unprecedented. Similar iron bars were also found at other Songyuan period underwater shipwreck sites, like Huaguangjiao No. 1. More than one Songyuan ship carried them for export, and in enormous quantities, on a significant scale. So, what kind of goods were they?
When I was sorting them, I divided them into two types, Type A and Type B. Type A is this kind of iron bar, with wide and narrow ends. The other type, Type B, is curved like a scimitar. I think they have something to do with weapons.
In the following excavations, a batch of scabbards was unearthed, seemingly confirming the archaeologists' theory. Cairo was an important destination on the Maritime Silk Road during the Songyuan period. Archaeology PhD Zhang Yikuan came here, hoping to find clues for his research topic, the trade network for the iron bars, on Nanhai One.
Of the ironware unearthed from Nanhai One, several thousand pieces may be weapon blanks. Historical records show that each year ships leaving China for Southeast Asia and even further regions like the Indian Ocean were over 100. Let's just go with 2,000 pieces per ship. 100 ships. It's 200,000 pieces, and that's for a year. Only major hotspot regions could consume them.
Research on Songyuan export goods mostly focuses on silk, tea, and porcelain. Due to limited discoveries, ironware is not a popular topic. Before the discovery of Nanhai One, such iron bars were especially hard to find. What kind of role did they play in the overseas trade of that time?
I'm going to visit Salah el-Din Citadel. There's a national military museum in it. In the museum, there is a series of medieval weapons on display.
This citadel belonged to Saladin, an outstanding military leader and statesman of the medieval Arab world, and the founder of Egypt's Ayyubid dynasty.
Because that era of the Muslim world, represented by Salah el-Din Citadel, coincided with the period when Nanhai One sank in the sea. That is very important information. Another thing is the Muslim world was engaged in conflicts with Europe for years, and also had wars in India, so they needed a lot of iron weapons. And where did they get them? I think a likely important source was the maritime trade represented by Nanhai One.
Inside the museum at Salah el-Din Citadel, weapons of various styles are on display. Is there any trace of the iron bars from Nanhai One among them?
In my opinion, a blade of such form, length, and weight could likely be made from the iron bar, unearthed from Nanhai One. Today, here in Egypt's National Military Museum, I've seen so many weapons from the 12th and 13th centuries. I think I can now imagine where those iron bars on Nanhai One might have ended up. They very likely came to West Asia and North Africa.
The Arab region's continuous warfare during the Songyuan period created a huge demand for weapons. It provides a hypothesis for why Nanhai One carried so many iron bars. But weapon production in Europe and the Arab world had their own techniques and standards. Why would they purchase these iron bars? From the distant east? Qingyang village lies in the Wulong Mountains of Chuanzhou. This small smithy is Yu Luhua's home. Yu Luhua, 65 years old now, and his brother Yu Qingshui divide the work. The clanging sounds of hammering are especially crisp against the forge fire. The Yu brothers began learning blacksmithing in their teens. When he was young, every household here made a living on this.
As far as I remember, there was iron slag everywhere, piled up like hills or huge mounds, lots of them.
Starting in 2019, Peking University's School of Archaeology and Museology excavated at Shiatsapu, south of the village. A long-dormant iron smelting site gradually revealed itself. Large quantities of slag, ore, and other remains were unearthed. Carbon-14 testing indicates its smelting activities were mostly in the Songyuan period. Many Song Dynasty documents record the boom of China's iron production during this period. Even in the Song history, there are records of iron production around the Qingyang village. This land once witnessed blazing furnaces and resounding clangs, a scene of bustling, industrious activities.
Up to now, we have excavated 20 furnaces. In terms of furnace design, there are, for example, this kind of connected triple furnaces, and the slightly smaller composite furnaces. This is also a testament to the scale of iron smelting at that time.
The combination of these furnaces and bellows pits allowed workers to use blast furnaces to raise temperatures to 1,300 degrees Celsius and regulate the temperature steadily and accurately with wooden fan bellows. Refractory material on furnace walls further ensured stable production. Under this system, ore was continuously smelted into iron products for various uses.
From our analysis and testing of the remains, the smelting technology was quite advanced. It is associated with some iron artifacts and shipwrecks discovered in Maritime Silk Road archaeology.
At the Maritime Silk Road Museum of Guangdong, metallographic analysis of the recovered iron bars and iron woks demonstrates that their smelting quality was close to today's standards. Ironware exports were strictly regulated in the Song Dynasty, but that could not stop the strong demand for ironware in overseas markets. British science historian Joseph Needham also confirmed that this iron smelting system put China's metallurgical technology at the forefront of the world before the 17th century. The products spread globally, meeting trade demands and boosting metallurgical technology worldwide. Eight centuries later, Yu Luhua is still using traditional bellows. In the firelight, ironware similar to that on Nanhai One, as if through a time machine, appears before us. This mastery of fire is a heritage in the blood of Chinese craftsmen. It created the ironware on Nanhai One that sold well overseas, and provided equally solid support for another major category of goods on the ship. When archaeologists cleared away the silt and concretion layer by layer from the surface, the goods stacked tall and dense in the compartments saw daylight again. Of the around 180,000 pieces of cargo, about 160,000 were porcelains. Remarkably, they were all products of standardized mass production. So how were they mass-produced over 800 years ago? Derhua porcelains account for 1/5 of all the porcelains on the entire ship. That makes Chen Lifang of the Derhua Ceramics Museum deeply curious about her hometown's history.
You see, this is a wide-mouthed bowl with a spacer ring, with support spikes placed on it. This is distinctive furniture from Derhua Kills. When the Maritime Silk Road Museum invited me to go and examine the porcelain unearthed from Nanhai One, I placed this kiln furniture into a large bowl from their recovered porcelain. And you see, it fits. Obviously, this is definitely from a Derhua kiln.
When the porcelain produced here appeared before her again, after 800 years in the seawater, she hoped to uncover the secrets of Derhua Kills.
See lots of porcelain shards here. I need a few pieces that resemble those from Nanhai One for analysis.
There used to be a porcelain clay mine here. Back in the Song Dynasty, people also came here to get this clay.
On this mountain, Yan Ruifang used to see miners working here when she was young. Following those old memories, she found an old, already mined-out tunnel. It was once a raw material source for Derhua porcelain.
This is a big cave, dozens of meters deep. You can break it with this sickle. See, this kind of rock is relatively white. As for this kind, you can't break it like I just did. It can't be used for clay. This kind produces a slurry, makes fine and delicate ceramics. Very beautiful.
These porcelain shards and stones eventually arrived before Professor Cui Jianfeng, an expert in archaeology of science and technology. In this laboratory composition analysis table, the porcelain stones found by Yen and the shards collected by Chen have a direct correlation.
Its English name is China stone, which is quite literal. As far as we know, such porcelain stones are only found in southern China and parts of Southeast Asia. Porcelain stone is a good raw material for porcelain making, so some scholars speak highly of this kind of stone, calling it the best gift bestowed upon Chinese potters.
Seen from above, Derhua town sits at the foot of the mountains. Back in the Song period, this town was basically surrounded by rows of kiln sites. At the Taipinggang kiln site, a kiln has been rebuilt in situ. Kilns built along a hillside and stretching dozens of meters are called a dragon kiln. It is what a Derhua kiln looked like in the Song period. Based on information provided by Professor Cui, ceramic craftsmen in Derhua are using formulas and techniques of the Song period to recreate the porcelain on Nanhai One. This experiment across time has also attracted a special guest, Shan Jixiang, a decision-maker behind the integral salvage of Nanhai One. He is curious about the stories of artifacts from the shipwreck.
Any difference between the materials used back then and today?
That's for sure. Back then, it was like grandson uses grandpa's clay.
Settling.
Yeah.
Settling for decades.
Yes.
2 decades or 3.
Right.
Such stories are also found in the writings of Marco Polo. After such treatment, the clay became extremely refined. After being fired in the kiln, the finished porcelain was sold in the city. 1 Venetian silver coin could buy 8 porcelain cups. The St. Mark's Basilica in Venice, Italy, keeps a piece of Derhua porcelain. In the memories of local Venetians, it was brought back from China by Marco Polo himself. It is also among the earliest Chinese porcelain recorded to have reached Europe. This piece of porcelain, known as the Marco Polo jar, is similar to certain vessels found in large numbers on Nanhai One. Its production technique will also be recreated today. Derhua craftsmen in the Song Dynasty were known for their standardization and production speed. Only by maintaining huge output could they meet the needs of all those ships.
They were focused. They might carve the same pattern dozens or hundreds of times a day.
Their craftsmanship reached a level that is actually comparable to today's standardization. The dimensions, proportions, and regularity are almost consistent.
May good fortune come, may 4 seasons favor, may divine power protect. Time to light the fire.
On October 26, 2025, at 4 p.m., Feng Qingfang and Shan Jixiang lit the fire of Yueji kiln. Yueji kiln follows traditional methods for making porcelain. Since the Ming Dynasty, its fire has always been on. The person firing an over 40-meter-long dragon kiln to make porcelain is called the kiln head. Feng is one of the few remaining kiln heads who still possess this skill.
Sometimes, the temperature isn't high enough. That make it difficult.
Green bodies made of clay require a temperature of at least 1,250 degrees Celsius to become porcelain. Using the elevation disparity between its front and back, created by the hillside slope, a dragon kiln guides the flow of heat and air, effectively reducing fuel consumption. But challenges come with advantages. From the head to the tail of the dragon kiln, the temperature must be precisely between 1,250 and 1,300 degrees Celsius, and also be consistent throughout. only then can porcelain be successfully fired. And all of this temperature judgment relies on the kiln head's observation.
The flame over there should be white. It's enough then. The heat isn't enough. When it happens, try knocking off the charcoal. Adding more wood and checking in a few minutes. Once you reach the temp, just maintain it.
Between 1250 and 1300 degrees Celsius. This is the forging temperature of the Song iron smelting blast furnaces. This seemingly random temperature threshold represents ancient Chinese people's ultimate understanding and mastery of nature, technology, and craftsmanship. It is also the secret behind all those porcelain and ironware on Nanhai One.
This is a test piece. Take it out to have a look. If it's smooth, it's time to move on. About 5 minutes. Knock off the charcoal and take a look. See if the temperature is enough. If not, add more firewood.
Starting from the head, every 3 stokeholes make a group. Once the temperature is reached, the kiln workers move to the next group. The flame will turn from orange-red to transparent eventually. One of the signs the temperature has been reached. In the kiln head's eyes, this equals a state of perfection. Feng Qingfeng began learning porcelain making and firing here at 19, which was over 50 years ago. This is already his 1000th plus kiln opening.
Since childhood, I've loved doing this. Used to it, and enjoy it.
A single dragon kiln can fire over 20,000 pieces in one batch. In Derhua during the Song period, there were dozens of such dragon kilns. From kiln loading to unloading, the entire cycle took only a few days, and tens of thousands of pieces of uniform quality porcelain would be made. Jingdezhen, Longchuan, and other kilns around the Fujian area adapted to local conditions and achieved large-scale mass production. Such hardcore technology and capacity were what supported the strong demand of overseas markets for Chinese porcelain. A few days later, the recreated Derhua porcelain of Nanhai One is about to come out. It is craftsmen today paying tribute to their forerunners.
We made all of these.
Marvelous.
Beautiful, right?
And this too. Well, these pieces look no different from those of the Song Dynasty. At least I can't tell the difference.
When you look at it against the light, it's white with a hint of blue. We call it goose egg blue.
Perfect. Our formula is a success.
Yes.
These might be what Derhua porcelain looked like back then. According to records, the porcelain would then be carried by porters over the mountains to the river ferry in today's Yongchun County. There, they would go downriver, straight to the port in Chuanzhou, and ship it overseas.
Add some talcum powder.
Gung Miao works at the Maritime Silk Road Museum of Guangdong. She restores artifacts. Restoring artifacts one by one with her own hands, in her view, is like having a conversation with craftsmen from a millennium ago.
The diverse and vast array of all those artifacts from Nanhai One represents, we might say, the daily necessities for ordinary people in the entire Southern Song Society.
Over 800 years ago, Nanhai One sank to the seabed because of an accident, and eventually entered this museum. Those goods that were once so popular overseas have become artifacts, through which we learn about the aesthetics and life of the Song period. At the Asian Civilizations Museum in Singapore, artifacts from another shipwreck, Batu Hitam, are on display. This Arab merchant ship yielded over 60,000 artifacts. The largest category of goods was porcelain from the Changsha kiln. The other types of goods also largely coincide with those found on the Nanhai One shipwreck. The goods on Batu Hitam were mostly characterized by distinct exotic styles. They were custom-made according to demand. By the time of the Southern Song's Nanhai One, nearly all the goods on the ship could find counterparts in the Song people's daily life.
Before the Tang Dynasty, with overseas samples for custom orders, craftsmen would need to customize products to foreigners' needs. There was a significant shift after the Song Dynasty. They would mostly follow the Song aesthetics. In maritime trade then, what got shipped to foreign countries was not just porcelain, but also those fine techniques, ideas, and aesthetics of the Southern Song Dynasty, which influenced the world.
American historian Robert Temple wrote, "The East and the West are already combined in a synthesis so powerful and profound that it is all-pervading. Within this synthesis, we live our daily lives, and from it there is no escape. The modern world is a tight combination of the East and the West." Nanhai One is precisely an epitome of such a world. Because of it, the historic Maritime Silk Road has come back to life, unfolding before us. Back at the time, whenever the winds rose, merchant ships like Nanhai One, loaded with exquisite artifacts of the East, would sail afar. These goods, scattered across the world like seeds, still exert influence. It meant more than trade. It spread technology and culture across seas, and now provides solid evidence for the exchanges between the East and the West.